Right, well, welcome to Let's Play Superman, the Man of Steel for the Mega Drive/Genesis. I'm Master Goffman and I'll be attempting to guide you through this whole process. Released in 1992, the game was created by a company called Sunsoft and was ported to the Master System by Graft Gold shortly thereafter. You may have heard of Sunsoft. They were responsible for quite a few licensed games, as well as making and publishing some actually good games as well. Those with an ear for music and a good memory have surely realised that this is the same music as the Master System game's title screen. Fortunately, the Mega Drive was capable of creating actual sounds and had enough cartridge space to have more than 3 tracks of music. The controller obviously also had an extra button, so surely that feeling of just not having enough buttons that the SMS game had will not be a problem. In fact, really this game might actually be pretty good. Well, we'll see. Like the SMS game, there's 3 difficulty levels. However, if you play on practice, the game ends after round 2, telling you to play it on at least normal. However, I'm damned if I'm going to have the ending tell me to play the game on a harder difficulty again, so I'm going to go straight to difficult. Also, while the game does have much smoother edges, it's still clearly not a grade A title. The game only has 15 sound effects, compared to Sonic 2's 80 odd despite having the same ROM size. It does have some pretty cool intro sequences though. This headline was used for level 2 in the SMS game, and you can see on the date that we're only a few days before Christmas 1992. I wonder how many Christmases this ruined. And hey, check it out, we have all sorts of cool stuff going on and the game actually looks pretty good. We still have our trusty punch, and obviously we can still jump, but if we hold up when we jump we go a little bit higher, which is good because the game has no jump modulation. Though most standard enemies will die to a single punch, we also have an even more powerful sonic punch, using up our punch meter in the corner, which will slowly recharge. We've still got the jump punch, but we also have the full kick as well, so we'll hit enemies we land on too. The slight ambiguity in the controls though is actually kind of worse. First of all, ducking can be a crapshoot if you stop walking forwards and hit duck straight away. I'm doing it here and it's taking sometimes half a second before Superman actually ducks. On top of that, we move much slower because we can now double tap a direction to run. That's a bit of a crapshoot as well, since if you start running on the first tap, the second tap stops you. Plus, if you're holding a direction and just tap down for a second, then that counts as releasing the direction for the purpose of running, which can come as quite a surprise. The hit detection is really unfair too. My fist straight went through that guy and he won the duel. There's also a fairly long downtime between punches, so if you punch too early, the bad guys will straight up run into you. You can kind of see the similarity between a lot of the enemies here and the ones from the first level of the SMS game. One thing to remember is that in this game we can't fly at will, so we'd best be on the lookout for those pits between buildings, right? Well, no. All the buildings are perfectly adjacent. They literally added in gaps between the buildings and then let you fly so you couldn't fall into them and die. A nice touch. Throughout this first level there's these giant UFOs which swoop in and crap out kryptonite fire or something. They take a bunch of regular punches, so the trick is to catch them with a sonic punch which takes them out in one go. However, they can be kind of awkward about getting in range. There's usually a power-up nearby before or after them which will refill your punch meter so you can afford to miss. In this case it's the silver S just here. Also, while we're here, the jump attack sucks. It takes a few frames for Superman to raise his fist, so if an enemy is too close you just smack your head into them. It also doesn't work very well on the UFOs since they're so big you just smack into them as soon as you stop flashing. You also can't be hit during a sonic punch, however you can just get hit right after the animation is over, so it's not exactly perfect. Occasionally when the running guys manage to hit you, you won't actually take any damage, however it doesn't matter since shortly thereafter something else probably will. Like the SMS game you only have one life and it's based around continues, however you do keep your score between lives in this version. The game does have quite a nice continue/game over screen too, with Brainiac rising up menacingly with what I understand is an unusual set of facial hair. But no, in all seriousness, this game is batshit hard, even if you play it on normal. The controls are just obtuse enough, combined with the unfair hit detection and dodgy attack frames, example this bullshit right here where apparently I wasn't full attacking this guy so took damage, that if you don't treat it with a ton of caution and respect, you can die easily within about a minute of starting. Note Exhibit A. So, while it looks like this game might actually be pretty good, please remember that it is in fact actually totally fuck off hard. With this point hopefully made clear, it's time to actually make some progress. You can't normally attack while you're running, hitting either attack button does nothing, but if you jump while sprinting you do a pretty handy jump punch/kick thing. However, moving that quickly usually will just get an overwhelming number of enemies on screen. The trick really is to take it all pretty slowly and memorise everything, which is pretty easy after about 35 minutes of failed attempts. Really the things that'll get you is stuff like trying to bait the UFOs into a sonic punch. If you don't manage to take them on their initial pass, they can really be utter bastards. There's actually no reason to kill any enemies in this game. They never drop power-ups or health, you just get a modicum of points. You apparently get extra continues every 80,000 points or something, with an extra one at 40,000, which I suppose is Sunsoft's idea of being nice. There's a little bit of a trick you can do to avoid the delay in Superman's ducking too. In the situation you need to react to someone swooping in to kick you in the head or a slow moving projectile. Ducking takes precedence over normal movement, and it seems to be releasing the direction that you're moving in that causes the problem, so holding down forwards and down at the same time works really quite well. Of course, if you do that too quickly you do end up running, so take that with a pinch of salt. Also, on top of not being able to fly and use his other powers at his discretion, Superman can't even do simple things like scroll backwards. And finally, here's the first health pickup of the level. It only refills just over half your health too, which on difficult corresponds to 2 or 3 hits, and maybe 4 or 5 on normal. There's 2 of these pickups in the whole level, so even if you're confident in what you're doing, getting gypped too many times by the game's bullshit can and will kill you. I think that this first level is actually especially bad for random elements screwing you up. Don't get me wrong, the later levels are brutal as shit, but I think patterning practice can mostly make you through those. With this one it's more kind of, this UFO just isn't playing ball, or nope, you got punched first, sorry. Fortunately though, this part of round 1 is almost over. Much like last time, it leads to a vertical flying section, so overall this probably hasn't looked very different from the SMS game. One thing I don't remember from it though is the level just kind of running out of stuff, and us having to run across 5 or, well, more like 10 buildings for no reason. Fortunately there's another life pickup just beforehand, which you'll see shortly is very easy to squander, but from here you're just running. Or walking if you don't know that you can run. Now we've adopted a sort of hovering pose, and instead of Sonic Punch we have access to Heat Vision. Heat Vision doesn't need any super meter to use, but it does drain it. Unlike the SMS game, you're limited to 3 beams of it on screen at once. There are also people dropping rocks out of the windows, but no one's dropping any coins, so there's really no reason to risk getting hit. In fact, you really want to stay over on the side here, because those stupid rocks that really shouldn't hurt Superman at all, yeah, they hit for basically half of his health, so seriously, do not get hit by rocks. You can also punch for some reason while flying. I have no idea how effective it is in terms of damage because I've never actually managed to hit anything with it. On normal and practice you can laser the UFO to death fairly easily, but I've never managed to kill it on time and difficult because it runs away as soon as it's boss time. And after a short pause of breath, it's time to fight not Toyman but in fact the Prankster. Superman thinks he's at the bottom of an evil plot to kidnap children, although there's no children at all in this level. There's a small bar below our health to signify how much damage we need to do. Each one of those little bars is something like 3 regular punches, so a lot of damage. Fortunately, we automatically get Sonic Punch back, which we can use to do about 8 punches worth of damage every time it recharges. In terms of attack, he can shoot exploding flowers up into the air, and also blow a floating bubblegum shield around himself and start floating around erratically. It's fairly risky to attack him during the whole bubble sequence, as you're very vulnerable to bullshit damage at the peak of your jump, but getting a few extra hits in is always too tempting for me, so I always have a go. Whenever you punch him, he stops moving for a moment and flashes. During that flash, you can walk through him, but don't think for a second that has anything to do with how long it takes before you can punch him again. You still can't hit him for at least half a second after the flashing ends, but he can hit you. He'll also always walk away from you after he drops from his bubble or finishes shooting flowers, so ideally you want to try and get him to not walk into the sides and immediately turn back around again, which is likely to pin you in between him and a torrent of flowers. He also has a third attack, which he didn't want to use during this fight. He blows a smaller bubble and floats up for only a short time, and tries to just drop on top of you. It's not really very effective. Also, bullshit. But that's pretty much it for the mechanics of this boss. He's a much better fight here than in the SMS game, which is something I guess. Really though, the main thing is the boss music. The game actually has some pretty awesome boss music, so I'll take a pause here so you can listen to it. And after a pretty close call, after a couple of clumsy hits, finally I beat the first stupid level. I got really worried about the flowers because I don't know exactly what happens if they kill you before the level ends, but I can take a pretty good guess. Anyway, well done us, we've done it again. You can see in this picture that it does actually kind of look like the prankster, so I guess they did put some effort into it. Anyway, that's actually it for this video. Saving some kids is enough for one day, and instead of moving straight on to level 2, I went through all 45 minutes of footage and gathered up all the particularly bullshit moments and stuck them all together. Before I sign off, we should at least see what the plot of round 2 is though. According to the manual, bodies of Metropolis City employees have been found, and Metallo might be trying to rob the city bank. None of this is true, and the manual is filled only with lies, as is Steve G, stand-in headline writer for when Lois Lane is busy being kidnapped by Brainiac. So until next time, I've been Master Goffrin, and I hope you enjoy some of the most painful moments of my weekend.